All right. You guys got that?
Mm-hmm.
That's on?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we're telling the homeowners the proper thing, guys, please. Please, please, please. So that's the similarities to these. What's the pros on option to loan to own? What do you think the pros are for them to own it through a loan?
What are the same ones for lease? I go to that.
Well, there's a few.
25 a year.
You get a 25-year warranty.
The inflation on all of them.
Well, interest rate. So they got an interest rate on their loan versus a 2.9% increase.
Right.
Typical payback. There's really this is not a payback because they're not buying it. Typical payback 6 to 9 years, which means the money initial cost of the system over the 6 to 9 years of paying their electric bill would cover the cost of what they bought the system for. Now they still have interest and stuff involved in there, but the initial payback in that range somewhere. So their initial investment of real money, like here they're putting out money every month, they're just paying a bill for power being produced. There's technically no investment because they're not buying anything in a sense, even though it ultimately gets abandoned at the end. They play their cards right. So it's like they are buying for 20 years. But here, their initial out-of-pocket investment can run 10 to 21% ROI, return on investment. So they buy this system for 25 grand on a loan, they end up paying 36,000 for it after the loan's all finished, or 38,000 for it. Their payback on that, but they're going to save $60,000 over the 25 years. See how the payback?
Mm-hmm.
So, truth be told, with the loan to own option, you actually will get more in payback savings dollars than you would with these programs.
But that means if it's paid back in 9 years, I mean that's over $3,600 they're going to pay in a year. If it's $36,000 and their return, their payback is in 9 years, that's $3,600 a month or a year. Nobody pays that much. I mean, they do maybe a quarter
Well,
of the
if you're
population.
if you're a $36,000 system, it's probably because they pay that much or
So,
close.
so it'd be
But the 30%, they have to be able to use the 30% tax credit. So the advantage here is the tax credit. They actually use it.
I see. Okay.
If they don't use the tax credit, that 6 to 9 years just skyrocketed to 13, 14 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
Get it?
Yeah.
Before they get their money back. So the loan is great to buy it because you own it. You get a little bit better savings. Well, as long as you can use the 30% tax credit, right? So this works great. If they cannot use the 100% of the 30% tax credit, it probably ain't going to make any sense to do this route.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're responsible for the loan. You have to pay that loan. If you sell the house, you have to pay off the loan. Okay? Or you carry around a $20,000 loan for no reason.
Right.
It does add resale value to the home. Those add attractiveness. This adds resale value. Putting it on the house this way and own to loan, loan to own, does add resale value because they could pay off that loan with the resale of the home, and it will raise their equity because it does have ownership of the panels. So that does have a nice benefit there, right? But are they responsible for the equipment?
Loan to own, yes.
They're 100% responsible. They do have to raise their homeowner's insurance, which can eat into their savings because if their homeowner insurance goes up $35 a month, that just eats away the $35 savings. You see what I'm saying? Like it can eat away with it. This can be the right option for the right person that wants to own something. There are people out there who just wants to own it. I get it. And as long as they can use the 30% tax credit, yes, it's worth it. If you can use 100% of the tax credit and you understand ownership, the equipment's got a 25-year warranty on it anyway, it's good equipment, the likelihood of needing to break or fix something is probably once in the entire 25 years, maybe something you have to do. So the risk reward is there, and this will give you bigger savings.
Chances are they're not going to get a 2.9% interest rate though either.
No, 4.9. Yeah, unsecured. They want a lower interest rate, it's going to be secured and it's longer term.
Gotcha.
But most loans now are 20-year to get the payments down. So you see the difference. You're going to put a 20-year on this and a 20-year on this.
Right.
You're going to be making payments to either one.
Right.
This initially over the term will probably save you a little bit more money in a theory, than this. This does have 0 out of pocket for a loan. You don't have to spend any extra money. So there are some nice advantages to this as well. It's not bad. Anything else you guys can think about that'd be good for owning it?
It doesn't, well, crazy. Isn't there a 16-month promotional rate that they get?
Yeah. They get a 16-month promotional rate, but that's because of the tax credit. What that means is the 30% of the sale of the tax credit portion of the sale of the job goes on a 16-month promotional rate, which basically means their payment will start out lower because the only amount truly being financed is the amount minus the 30%. And then that gives them 16 months to file their taxes, get that 30% federal tax credit, every dollar they need, and pay that back into that money so that they stay at that low payment. In the event they don't get the tax credit, that's going to re-amortize back into the original loan and raise that payment quite a bit because they couldn't get it paid off. And then there's potential of all that back interest too. You know how those 16-month loans work, right? So that's why I say if you're going to do a loan, you better make sure you can use the tax credit. And most companies out there don't offer this. Some of them offer this. Most of them are trying to get people to buy it because they're trying to go with the whole own it thing. But the problem is most people can't use the tax credit. But you know how many companies are selling the shit out of them on the loans and getting them to buy solar on a loan, thinking that they're going to get the tax credit, and then all of a sudden their payment to PG&E is $220, but with the loan, because they couldn't use the tax credit, it just shot up to $260. Now they're paying more money on something they own because of the loan, because they couldn't use the tax credit.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's going to be 13 years from now before, in theory, they get their money back and money spent, and then they're still paying on that for 15 or 20 years.
That's a big argument that I've seen so far is nobody wants a lease and nobody wants a loan. They say they're going to buy it outright until they hear about the PPA.
Yeah.
But,
They can't buy it out.
right. Yep.
Most people do. 5% of the people out there have 20, 30, 40 grand laying around. You get under 20 grand, 10 to 15,000, there's a lot of people that have that. A lot more people have that. You get up over 20 grand, there ain't that many people can pay cash for it. Which leads me to, did it stop?
No, your battery's like,
Oh, still recording, right?
yeah.
Okay. So any other loan to own you think is great? Good option?
For the right person, you know, like you said.
They're not technically locked in to a lease or a PPA, they are locked into a loan.
Right.
So they're locked into a finance anyway.
Right. Their own loan. Yep. Now, we don't utilize PACE that much then, huh?
Pace will work under this too.
Is that what that? Okay.
Pace has its own little internal advantage too. You can write off the interest on it.
And it goes on equity, not score.
Not score. Any of them, and usually the Pace, you got to use the tax credit in the Pace majorly. That has to have the tax credit used in that puppy, because if you don't, that Pace loan usually is quite a bit more than your
Really?
PG&E. Yeah. It's all about the 30% tax credit. These two, all about the 30% tax credit. If they can't take advantage of it, your paybacks get knocked over 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. Your payback over here, what's your payback on a lease or a PPA?
PPA is instant.
The moment it's interconnected going forward, you're saving money. Here, you're not saving money, theoretically, unless you get the 30% tax credit and you get your loan payment less. But you ultimately, over time, after so many years, will then start to see a significant amount of savings.
Right.
And then the best option by far, the absolute wonderful, most amazing option possible, is if the customer has cash. If you have 20 grand laying around in a can, or 30 or 40 grand laying around in retirement savings somewhere, your ROI is huge. What you're doing is buying all your power in bulk. Now you take on the accountability and the responsibility of the equipment, homeowner's insurance does go up, but you have 100% pure ownership, which means by buying it in cash, you have no bill. Period. Other than $10 fee. Get it? Unless there's the plus or minus. That system size that you build. Now, we can overbuild sometimes on either one of these. I don't recommend overbuilding on these because that's stuck. If you overbuild, that is what it is. But with cash, dude, your payback is 6-9 years, especially you use the tax credit, you get all your money back. Mine in my situation, like I explained to customers, 4.5 years. I'm almost 2 years in. I got two and a half years left, and I will get every dime of my money back, and I will be making nothing but 100% pure profit going forward for the next 21 years. This one's huge. If you can pay cash and you have that money laying around, now you don't want to wait, you don't want to try to save it up, because you should have already been doing that. And people will be like, oh, well, let me have to get the cash. Well, where are you going to get 20 grand from if you don't have it now?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think you're going to save up 30 grand?
So you get paid quicker?
Where people, if they try to tell you, well, I think I'll just wait and do this one and get the cash for it. Well, how would you do that? Let's break that down. Because the interconnection or the net metering 2.0 is going to be coming to an end soon. Can you come up with cash over the next 3 months? Because if you can, just give me $1,000 now. We can put your job on a slower process, and you can just pay us cash over the next, 90 days. They're not going to come up with 20 grand over the next 90 days. No one's going to just magically make 20 grand appear.
Mm-hmm.
People can't save that fast. I don't care who they are. I can't even save that fast. I would literally have to shut my entire life down and put literally all my money aside and maybe pay my mortgage only, and maybe a night, no, not even then. Not even me.